For Dr. Christmas to receive her degree in psychiatry, this was a rarity among the Black culture, and it was virtually unknown. She was a pioneer, and pressing through tremendous mental battles stemming from a nation of prejudice, she overcame, and she began to reach back and help those that were also on the same journey that she was on, and that was to overcome racial prejudice and sexism. She made sure that she would not stand alone. She contributed to the African American Civil Rights Movement, not as dramatic compared to maybe Rosa Parks, a physical dramaticness like that, and it wasn't as dangerous maybe as when you compare to the battle that Myrlie Evers and her family faced. Nevertheless, her impact was still necessary and still very vital. In the introduction of lighting the fires of freedom, there were 3 traits used to describe the 9 leaders throughout the chapters. And I quote from the introduction: Black women's leadership often embodies 3 modes: transformational leadership, servant leadership, and adaptive leadership. Transformative leadership embodies change using non-traditional approaches to allow those that's being served to develop rapport and trust in their leaders. Servant leadership, and I quote, embrace working without recognition, but using strategic recognition to fuel the work. Part of that was a quote, part of that was me. Last but not least, adaptive leadership. And I quote, ensures that leaders thrive in challenging environments and receive the support and sustenance necessary to continue their leadership work over a lifetime. And you asked us a question, Professor Smith, what are out of those 3 quotes, explain how our person would fit those quotes, and our person being June Jackson Christmas. Being that Dr. Christmas has such a big impact on civil rights when it comes to mental, I would say that her impact was a transformative, if I'm saying that word right, leadership. Because she was able to use rapport, she was able to use respect, she was able to use non-traditional ways to go in and infiltrate those areas that had not been infiltrated, such as when she went to college, in her Girl Scout troop, even when it came down to the housing crisis that was in New York City, even when it came down to her starting to house, her and her husband housing those young civil rights workers when they came from the South. So her leadership was very transformative. She was able to penetrate people with her knowledge and build them up to where they would be able to go back and also build up others and transform others' lives. And I'm trying to think, did I go through? I did name all 3 of the traits, so I did get that part. I'm just trying to make sure I covered everything. She was a courageous woman. She was a bold woman, and She was a very proud woman. She also shares the birthday of my daughter, June the 7th. So it was a pleasure for me being able to represent Dr. Christmas and her impact towards civil rights. And thank you. I've gone over my time for allowing me to make my work up. I am feeling a lot better. Continuing to get better. Thank you. Have a good night.